Hello students, in my last lecture I discussed reversible and irreversible electrochemical cells and the conventional representation of a cell. Now today I will talk about electromotive force and thermodynamics of cell potential. Electromotive force is defined as the difference of potential which causes current to flow from the electrode of higher potential to the lower one, and it is represented as EMF. EMF is expressed in volts and it is denoted by the symbol E0 cell. Since electrons in the external circuit flows from electrode of higher oxidation potential to the electrode of lower oxidation potential, we can express EMF as E cell is equal to higher oxidation potential minus lower oxidation potential. Now, since cell involves oxidation and reduction, we can also represent it in the terms of reduction potential, as the atom with the maximum tendency of oxidation will yield an ion with the least tendency of reduction. Therefore, the equation can be written in different forms, such as E cell is equal to minus higher oxidation potential plus minus lower oxidation potential. We can also write it E cell is equal to minus lower reduction potential plus higher reduction potential, or we can write it E cell as higher reduction potential minus lower reduction potential. Basically, we can say that the flow of electrons is due to the difference of oxidation tendencies of the two atoms, or it is due to the difference of reduction tendencies of the two ions. Now, the question comes, how we can measure EMF? The simplest way of measuring a potential is voltmeter, whereas we cannot use voltmeter for measuring the cell of a potential. Now, the question is, why voltmeter cannot be used for measuring the potential? To determine the accurate EMF of a cell, direct use of voltmeter cannot be made because it draws some current from the cell which changes the EMF due to changes in the concentration of species caused by the electrode reaction. Second reason is, due to appreciable current flow, part of the EMF will have to be utilized to overcome the internal resistance of the cell, and hence the potential measured by voltmeter will not be accurate. And therefore, the precise value of EMF of a cell can be determined by using a potentiometric method. In potentiometric method, an unknown EMF is opposed by another EMF until the two becomes equal. Experimental setup required for computing the EMF of a cell using potentiometric method can be shown as, you can see here the circuit which is required. We have a potentiometer starting from A to B, and we have two cells E1 and E2, and potentiometer is connected to a battery through a resistance. Now, let us see what is E1 and E2. E1 is a standard cell whose EMF is reproducible and constant with time. Usually for this purpose, a standard cadmium cell is used. E2 is an unknown cell whose EMF is to be determined. A to B is a uniform wire of potentiometer, and the resistance offered by the wire is directly proportional to its length and is calibrated in volts. You can see here we can connect it at any point, whether here or shown by a dotted line, we can connect it to any point between A and B. The positive terminals of two cells of EMF E1 and E2 are connected to the terminal A, and negative terminals are connected to jockey through a two-way key K2, which is connected to a galvanometer G. Now, first key K1 is closed to establish a potential difference between the terminals A and B of potentiometer. Then, by closing key K2, a standard cell of unknown EMF is introduced in the circuit and null point junction is determined with the help of jockey. If the null point on wire is at length L1 from A, then we can write E2 is equal to K into L2, where K is the potential gradient along the length of wire. A final expression can thus be obtained as E1 by E2 is equal to L1 by L2. The simple relation allows us to find out the ratio of E1 and E2 as the EMF of one cell is known. Thus, the EMF of other cell can be calculated easily. A standard cell which we require for determining EMF should obey following. Its potential should be reproducible and constant with time. Second, it should be reversible. Third, it should not suffer permanent damage due to passage of current, and it should have low temperature coefficient of EMF. The cell that most closely approximate these measurements or requirements are Western standard cells. Here is a typical representation of Western cadmium cell. We have a H-type glass cell in which we have two compartments connected through a frit which is filled with standard cadmium sulphate solution. In one arm we take cadmium sulphate solution, and at the bottom we have mercury, over which we have a paste of mercury with mercurous sulphate, and a platinum wire is put in this arm which is positive in nature. In the other arm of the cell we have cadmium amalgam followed by cadmium sulphate, and the platinum wire is again connected here, which is used as negative terminal of the cell. If you buy this cell from the market, it will look something like this, and it is a very well known standard Western cadmium cell. A typical representation of Western cadmium cell is cadmium with 12.5% mercury amalgam, cadmium sulphate which is aqueous saturated, then mercurous sulphate solid, and mercury liquid. The EMF of this cell is 1.0183 volts. In a standard Western cadmium cell, there are two reactions which occurs. In the left hand cell, we find that cadmium which is solid reacts with sulphate ions in presence of water to give cadmium sulfate 8/3 H2O. Cadmium being oxidized because its oxidation number is going from 0 to +2. In the right hand cell, we find HgSO4 plus 2 electrons is giving us 2 mercury liquid and sulfate ions. Mercury is being reduced because its oxidation number is going from +1 to 0, and the overall reaction is the sum of these two reactions and can be written as cadmium mercury amalgam is reacting with Hg2SO4 solid and giving us 2 mercury liquid, cadmium ions aqueous and sulfate ions aqueous. Electrical potential or at a point in a space is defined as the work involved in bringing a unit positive charge from infinite, where the electric potential is 0, to the point under study. If WEL is the work involved in bringing a charge q from infinite to a given point, then potential V at this point is given by a relation V is equal to WEL divided by Q. Gibbs function and electrical work. From the first law of thermodynamics and some standard thermodynamic relations, we find that du is equal to dq plus dw. From thermodynamic relations, we know dq is equal to T ds, and if we substitute this value in our equation, we get du is equal to T ds. Now, if we replace dw by the relation dw is equal to minus P delta V plus dw electrical, we get a equation du is equal to T ds minus P delta V plus dw electrical. Now, ds can be defined as follows: dg is equal to dh minus T ds. I am not calling this GT because we are talking at constant temperature. Now, from this we write dg is equal to du plus pdv minus tds, because the relation dhp is very well known, which is equal to dup plus pdv. Now, substituting these values, we get a final equation as dg Tp, that is at constant temperature and pressure, this becomes equal to dw electrical. Now, here just for simplicity, I would like to mention that dH is enthalpy change, ds entropy change, and dg represent Gibbs energy change. Let us now see how the Gibbs function relates to a potential. The amount of electrical work involved in moving the amount n of electrons in a cell spontaneously is given by a relation WEL is equal to minus NF E cell. From this relation derived, we can see Gibbs free energy with cell potential can be described as delta G is equal to dWEL. Depending on the signs of delta G and E cell, the nature of cell reactions obeys following criteria. This is again the relation delta G is equal to minus NF E cell. If this delta G becomes negative, the nature of the cell reaction will be spontaneous and the sign of E cell in this case will be positive. If delta G for the reaction is positive, the nature of the cell will be non-spontaneous and the sign of the E cell will be negative. If delta G is 0, nature of the cell reaction will be at equilibrium and the sign of E cell will be 0. Consider a system of fixed volume and at the same temperature as the surrounding, and if D and J moles of species J enter such a system. In this case, internal energy of a system changes when a substance enter or leave it. Thus, internal energy will increase by Uj, D and J, where the extensive variable describing the amount of change is D and J, and Uj represents the contribution to the internal energy of the system per mole of species J, and therefore, we can write an equation dG is equal to du plus pdV minus TdS. As we have seen, U is equal to dq minus pdV plus summation j uj d and j at constant temperature and pressure, and therefore, substituting above expression of du, we will get another equation as dg is equal to summation j uj dn j. For more clarification, we have written these equations so that you can understand as to how the final expression have come here. Consider a system of two phases M and M dash of the same material of two different potentials psi and psi dash respectively. If amount dn of the species carrying Zi charge is transferred from M to M dash, then we can write dq is equal to Zi f dn, and dwel will be equal to psi dash minus psi dq is equal to psi dash minus psi Zi f dn. If this transfer is carried out reversibly, we have another equation dg is equal to dw electrical or El will be equal to psi dash minus psi multiplied by dq, which can be written as psi dash minus psi multiplied by Zi f dn. All these relations are very well known and can be obtained from a book of thermodynamics. If uzi and u bar zi be the chemical potentials of the species in the phases M and M prime of the same material at two different potentials respectively, we can say that the free energy change of the system when dn of this species are transferred from M to M dash will be given by a relation dg is equal to u bar zi dn minus u zi dn. Now, if we compare equations 1 and 2, we get a relation u bar zi dn minus u zi dn is equal to psi dash minus psi multiplied by Zi f dn. Then we get another equation which is u bar zi minus u zi multiplied by dn. This will be equal to psi dash minus psi Zi f dn which will be again equal to u bar z I minus u z I, and finally this is equal to psi dash minus psi multiplied by z I f. Let us call this equation as equation 3. Let mu z I be the chemical potential of the species when the potential of the phase m is 0. Then equation 3 becomes u z I is equal to mu z I plus z I f multiplied by psi. Again, this equation relates the chemical potential or the escaping tendency of the species of charge Z I in a phase to its electrical potential. The first term u z I is the chemical contribution, and the second term Z I f psi is the electrical contribution. On account of these two contributions, the chemical potential u z I is commonly referred to as the electrochemical potential. Now the question comes, what will be the electrochemical potential of a metal? Since for a metal Z I is equal to 0, and hence its electrochemical and chemical potential will have the same value. The standard equilibrium constant of a reaction is related to the standard free energy of the reaction by the relation delta Z 0 is equal to minus R T ln K. Ln indicates that the log has been used at the base of natural logarithm. Now, since delta Z 0 is also equal to minus N f E 0 cell, we can relate the two relations, that is minus N f E 0 cell is equal to minus R T ln K, and therefore, E 0 cell will be equal to R T by N f ln K. At 298 K, the above expression becomes E 0 cell is equal to 0.05913 by N log K. We have converted the natural log at the base 10 in the second expression. Let us consider a question. Calculate the equilibrium constant K and delta Z for a cell involving reaction Zn plus copper ions, giving us Zn plus 2 and copper. It is given that E 0 for copper plus 2 copper is 0.34 volt and E 0 for zinc plus 2 zinc is minus 0.763 volts. Let us now consider the solution. We are using the same relation E 0 cell is equal to 0.05913 by N log K, and therefore, log K will be 2 into 1.10 divided by 0.0593, that is log K will be 37.099 and K will be antilog of this value, giving finally K is equal to 1.256 into 10 to the power minus 37. Now, we know delta Z is equal to R T ln K, and substituting the value of R, T at 298 K and the value of K, we get the value as 211,681.2667 joule per mole, and the delta G we can also write as approximately 212 kilojoule per mole. From Gibbs-Helmholtz equation, we can also write delta G is equal to delta H plus T d by dt delta G at constant pressure. Now, since delta G is equal to minus NFE, we therefore get another relation in which d by dt delta G at constant pressure is equal to minus NF dE by dt at constant pressure. Substituting equation 2 and 3 in first, we get a new relation minus NFE is equal to delta H minus NF dE by dt at constant pressure. Rearranging, we get delta H is equal to minus NF multiplied by E minus T dE by dt at constant pressure. Now, to summarize today's lecture, we have talked about electromotive force and its measurements using a potentiometer. Standard cell, we talked about standard Western cadmium cell, Gibbs function, equilibrium constant. In the next lecture, we will talk about application of electrochemistry in pH and buffer solutions.